Part 3 of Out the Door or No, all others down below. I need to be confident, let her know I love her, but I'm perfectly fine moving on without her. She started listing reasons why this all happened, about how I never did anything to help her and let her carry all the burden. I probably didn't respond how I should have. I basically said that I thought we were happy and she didn't communicate to me what problems we had or how she felt. And if she did, I would have done whatever it took to make her happy. She tried saying that she shouldn't have had to tell me. Blah blah. I told her she needs to step up and take responsibility for what she's done and stop trying to justify everything, because there is no excuse. I think when she calls, I'm just going to give my kids the phone. If she wants to talk to me, she will tell them to put me on the phone after she's done talking to them. If she doesn't ask to speak with me, we won't be talking at all. If we do talk, I'll be letting her do all the talking. The being forced to fix things with his wife is why it ended. If it was up to my wife, they would still be seeing each other drowning in their infatuation. And that's hard for me to deal with, honestly. The one positive in all this is that she now feels like complete trash. He so easily threw her away like nothing, and I believe it's woken her up. Her feelings have immediately changed for him from good to bad. I'm not sure how much of a threat the is now. His wife has a pretty tight leash on him now, all of his passwords, phone access, GPS. She told him if he goes to her work again or contacts her at all, she's done with him. If I have any threat at all, it would be a new rebound guy, but I doubt she's looking to jump into a relationship immediately following this disaster. I haven't told his wife about how he told mine that he wants to be with her and he would if it wasn't for his kids. I feel like she deserves to know, but if I do tell her, there's a strong chance she will kick him out and we're back to square one. Then he begins pursuing my wife again. Sometimes I wish we lived a few hundred years ago where men could take care of these problems personally. Perhaps after I see where things are going with me and my wife, I will let her know what a piece of crap her husband is. Tonight, I let her talk to the kids, then I got on the phone and I told her to have a good night and bye. As much as I want to talk with her about things, this is not the right time. It is a constant struggle, but one I must deal with. I'm not contacting her. If she wants to talk, she will contact me. I'm not starting a conversation about any of this unless she starts it. Getting a job is huge and it would definitely make me much more attractive to her. When she came over and the house was spotless, far from normal with her living there, and both the kids in school, I think it hit her. Wow, he can get by without me and he's doing a pretty good job at it. My wife is aware that the told his wife about her. Like I said, I made it perfectly clear to my wife that he was throwing her under the bus to his wife, making it seem like she was the one pursuing him. This pissed my wife off and she gave me more ammo to give to his wife to show what a slim ball he was. Well, did you tell her that on our first date he wanted to get a hotel room and have slept together? I said yes. I told her that. I told her that before all of this you were a great mother and wife. Although when my wife told me about their phone call yesterday, when she broke it off for good, she originally didn't want to tell me the details about what he said. That he said he wishes he could be with her but he can't leave his wife because of the kids. Wife will take his kids if he isn't with her. She asked me not to tell his wife. She told me this because I would say you called him to break it off after he ran back to his wife. That makes no sense. That's when she told me about what he said to her. Her telling him to never call her again or go up to her work or she'd have him kicked out was her response to that. The wife and I do agree that this was more of an emotional affair. By the sounds of it, they did do a lot of talking about their marriages and they were just both lost in the excitement of being with a new person. As for the hotel, about 2 minutes after they got there I went up to the front desk and had them call his room so I could go up. The front desk asked who I was. I told him to tell him Lisa, his wife's name. They asked him if he wanted me to come up. He said no. So, at that point he must have been scared, but he didn't tell my wife about it. She only knew I was there about 40 minutes. Later when the cops went to their room, the hotel was calling them on me. So I called them too and told them I thought my wife was under the influence of something and in a hotel room with another man. I think after she knew her kids and me were in the parking lot she felt like a complete W and it probably killed the mood. He told his wife that he was just being a good guy. My wife didn't have money or a place to stay. So he let her stay with him but made her sleep on the couch. My wife told me what I think is the truth. She said she took a shower when they first got back, got in front of him to tease him while she was changing into her pajamas. She said they did sleep in the same bed and mostly talked. She said they kissed and petted. She felt him. She said, like before, she was pretty detailed about everything. I guess it doesn't really matter to me at this point what they did. I do realize her feelings. She feels worthless. She's thrown everything away for this infatuation and now it's gone. She has a rude awakening ahead of her. She understood from the beginning that he wasn't going to leave his wife. She told me so. But she was still willing to be his mysterious to keep the excitement they shared going. Perhaps that makes it even worse. I have made it perfectly clear how he is making her seem to his wife. Like a home wrecking bar. I have no intention of returning to the nice guy, trying to talk to her about everything and taking her on dates, especially no back rubs. What the hell was I thinking? As for her coming back, I think she feels like what she did is unforgivable. That I am disgusted in her. That I feel like her second option. And she feels like I want nothing to do with her right now. If she feels that way, it seems like she would just save herself the pain and move on. Why be with a guy that feels that way about you? I need to let her know I love her and would be willing to work on things, without directly saying it. Am letting her have her space to figure things out, trying my hardest not to initiate conversation. She has a million emotions flowing through her head right now. She hasn't even begun to understand or take accountability for what she's done yet. I asked her why she ended it with him, even though he basically did. She said because she wants her kids back in her life. That she doesn't want to lose them. I honestly believe she is committing to NC with the OM. She seems like she's had enough. But she was honestly committed to it the first time after I found out. Unfortunately, the temptation was still there and she was too weak. I think it's different this time around now that his wife knows and is keeping him in line. How many chances? I suppose this would be the last one. And I'm not doing anything to go out of my way to give her that chance. If she wants it, she's going to have to do the heavy lifting. Just found an old email she sent to me from back in the day, 8 years ago when I was alpha. Funny how things can change. Hey OP, I just wanted to tell you that I love you and good night. And I want you to know that if you just don't feel like talking to me, that I'd rather you tell me that than tell me you're tired and you're going to bed and then you really just go online. It hurts my feelings. I just wanted to let you know how I feel. And I know we're on a break, but I really miss you and I really wanted to just cuddle with you tonight. And none of that could really happen, so I wanted to talk to you. And it just seems like you're losing interest or something because lately you don't even want to talk to me. I don't like feeling not wanted, and that's exactly how I've been feeling. And if that's the case, then just let me know and I'll back off. It seems like maybe you want your space. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me because you've been sending me mixed signals. Well, I'm going to bed now. I love you. Good night. New revelations. Tonight, my wife and I talked for hours and she came completely clean about everything. I will admit, I manipulated her a little to break down her wall and get the truth out. I know how to push my own wife's buttons, of course. I told her that me and his wife talked today, and that she told me how her husband said my wife was trying to seduce him basically. After the shower. Kissing and other nasty things, but that he felt too guilty and turned her advances down. I knew this would upset her, especially after he's thrown her away like garbage. She finally came out and told me that she was the one that originally turned down his advancements. He wanted to have sleep with her and she said no, but he kept coming on to her and she eventually caved in. So yes, they did sleep together. I guess everyone already figured that. And apparently it was really long. This explains her intense reaction after him leaving her and going back to his wife. Because she had just slept with him. She feels like a worthless piece of crap right now. She told me that everything she told me in the beginning was true, that they didn't sleep together until that night in the hotel. She said she did break things off with him when she said she did, but he kept pursuing her. He came up to the bar the next 3 days in a row. The first 2 days she ignored him. The third day they talked and he told her to never throw him away like that again. So, her breaking contact with him never really happened. This piece of crap never gave up. My wife basically fell for this guy and threw everything away for him. She said he made her feel so special and happy. He told her he wanted to be with her and not his wife. Blah blah. All the basic stuff a married man would say to a woman he wants to sleep with. I plan on telling his wife and exposing this slime ball for what he is. My wife told me they both went over their stories, so they went together. And that night in the hotel they both promised not to tell me or his wife about them sleeping together. I know that once his wife finds out, there's a good chance she'll be done with him. And in return he'll continue to pursue my wife. She says she wants nothing to do with him after he just threw her away like nothing. But I doubt that's the case. All it would take is a little sweet talking, but we'll see. This can be her test. P.S. They didn't use protection. She has HPV. Who knows what he has? My life ducking sucks. She's definitely come clean about everything. She was crying hysterically, telling me how sorry she was. And what more is there to really even lie about? She expressed wanting to come back home. I told her she needed a few weeks at least to figure things out. And by that time, I might be moving out and she could live here. If I get this job out of state, I think if I pushed it, she would be open for R now, but I think it's too soon. She needs to feel the pain from what she's done and realize what she's lost. She needs to learn from this. I feel like I'm still in shock right now. I just had this conversation with her like 15 minutes ago. Tomorrow everything will hit me and I'm sure a new form of anger will set in. I have yet to admit this on here and it's hard to do, even online. But I have cheated on her in our past and she has no idea. It was physical for me. I never fell for another girl, or was willing to throw my wife away for them. Not that it makes it better. I haven't been with other women since our original separation, and I honestly think I learned something from my brief physical encounters. It made me appreciate my wife so much more. The past 4 years I have been completely honest and faithful with her, and our relationship has been the best it ever has been. Until this, of course. But still, I cheated as well. Perhaps this is why I am a bit more understanding than most of you believe she deserves. How can I pass judgment on her when I feel that I've done the same thing? The only difference is that for her it was emotional. This man tricked her into believing he wanted to be with her. For me it was purely physical. We are all human beings. We all have inherited flaws. I've accepted that. All we can do is learn from the mistakes we've made and try to be better. For her this is a life-changing event. She can either be destroyed by it, or come out of it a better person. I have left a lot of details out about our past relationship, including the rough patch I referred to. I wanted help with the current problem. I felt it was unnecessary to share our entire relationship history. She's basically lied to me quite a bit in our relationship, from the very beginning. I started off as an amazing partner to her, but as she kept lying the resentment began to build. This was pre-marriage. So, I quit caring and cheated on her when I was away at college, and then again 4 years ago. We were separated. I moved out. She had an online, emotional affair with a man that lived out of state. While she was pregnant, she lied to me about it when I gave her the chance to be honest. He was also a married man. This emotional affair is almost a clone to what is happening now. It happened almost the same way. The only difference is that this one took the next step. During that time, I found out about her relationship and started having relationships of my own, perhaps to get back at her. I slept with a woman, and I later told her the truth about it. But I held back from telling her about the other women I was with previously. To this day I feel that me sleeping with a woman has caused her to resent me, seeing as she has always been faithful outside of the online affair. She was disgusted in herself for having an online relationship with a married man while she was pregnant. She seemed genuinely sorry and remorseful. After all of that we got back together and things have been the best they ever have been, up until this happened. Remember, we have been together since we were 17 and 18. Our relationship has been quite immature in a lot of ways. After the separation we both grew and became better people and our marriage flourished. I have no problem being honest with her at this point. She has suspected that I've been with other women, but has told me if I have, she'd rather not know, and be blissfully ignorant. I feel that if I come out and tell her right now, this would completely ruin her healing, growing process. Her mind is just now starting to clear. She's starting to realize what she did was wrong, even if she wasn't married to me. If I added this to all of that, it would be extreme overload for her. She wouldn't be able to feel true remorse because she would tell herself, well, he did it to me, so he deserved what I did to him. At this point, if we stay married or not, she's the mother of my children and I'd like to see her learn from this and become a better person. She shouldn't feel so little about herself that she's willing to be some married man's girl on the side. And she should never put another man before he kids, like she has done throughout this. I'll probably let her move back in within the next week. She still needs time to herself to figure things out. She's had a complete collapse of everything that made her who she was. There's a lot of pieces to put together. She came over last night and we all went out to dinner as a family. It was more pleasant than I thought it would be. We talked, she cried. I told her about the other women I was with as well. She asked me a few questions, and we didn't talk about it after that. She didn't seem to be affected by it. Well, it's been a few days. She still hasn't really tried to talk to me about anything concerning our relationship. I think she's more bitter about the running back to his wife than anything. It's obvious she's in pain. She feels disgusted in herself by letting this happen, by being so naive and getting thrown out right after her and the OM had slept together for the first time. She called him a coward. I asked, why? Because he wouldn't leave his family for you. She cried and she said you should have heard the things he told me. He wanted to be with me and not his wife. He made me feel so special. Blah blah. Pretty hard for me to hear that crap while keeping my cool. But I did. I told her, well, I tried telling you from the beginning. He would never leave his wife for you. All you were was a piece of crap for him. You knew what you were getting into and you did it anyways. She came over to see the boys the other night. We went to dinner as a family. Had a few drinks together when we got home. She sleeps in bed with me and we did sleep together. It was honestly pretty great. It lasted about an hour. I guess I was pissed off and wanted to show her what she threw away. And I was tipsy. She said the bonding was amazing. So much better than with him. The next day after I sobered up, I kind of regretted it. I'll try to keep from doing that again until she's ready for real although it was a bit of an ego boost. I suppose. Her telling me how much better. Bigger I was than him. Now I just need to erase the pain of her betrayal and I'm good to go. Also, last night she called me after work, 3:30 a.m. She closed. She said she was just going to sleep in the parking lot, since she had to be back there at 9 a.m. I told her I didn't want her to do that. It was dangerous. I told her she could come home and sleep if she wanted. So, she agreed and drove back to our house, 45 minutes drive. On the way she got pulled over. She was barely over the legal limit for drinking and driving. They could have taken her behind bars, but instead they called me and told me I could come pick her up. So, I went and got her and she cried the whole way home. When she got home her crying intensified even more. I held her and gave her a hug, told her it was okay. I think she's starting to realize she's self-destructing. It's sad. Concerning STD, I did not wear a condom. I have spoken to OM's wife and she said he doesn't have any STD she knows of, and that she was just checked after delivering her baby a month ago. I still want my wife to get checked. Guess this was just a lapse of weakness. I really truly do believe R is possible, but it largely depends on her. Like I said before all of this, she said something changed inside of her, that she no longer wanted to be with me. I still don't know if that's still the case, or if that was largely due to her infatuation with him. I think it was. I believe I can forgive her, but for that to happen I need to know she's truly sorry and wants to be forgiven. I realize for real R to happen, things like this can't be constantly brought up in every argument and thrown into the other person's face, which is what I think she's afraid of. That I will never be able to get over this. I have a basketball game tonight. She's on her way over here with dinner for me and the boys. After I get back, perhaps I'll say a few words. See if I can't get her to open up and talk about our future, or I still feel like she's lost though. She feels worthless. Not sure if this is the best time to bring it up. I still love my wife. I want to be with her. She's the one that actually took us out to dinner. And of course, I'm going to pick her up and not let her ruin her life. She's at a horrible spot in her life. I do believe she needs space to figure things out, but she also needs to know she has someone there that genuinely cares for her, compared to just throwing her away. Regardless of if I'm with her or not, I care about her and don't mind helping her. She's the mother of my kids. Even if we're not together, I don't want to hate her for what she's done. Perhaps I am being a little too nice a little too soon. I have to do a better job of controlling myself. She does need to feel the consequences of what she's done. She's still not living here. A lot of you are giving opposing advice. Some of you think I should let her move in immediately and begin R, which I don't think I can do until she figures things out for herself. Others say I should man up, do the 180 and let her come crawling back to me. I believe she's already disgusted in herself and doesn't think I want her, so this would push her further away. I guess I'm taking an approach that's a hybrid of both of those. Basically, sounds like there's two options. 1. Make a quick decision to R or not, even though she still doesn't know and says she's numb feeling. Let her move back in and get my family together as soon as possible. Give her my requirements for a successful R. 2. Keep doing the 180, wait for her to crawl back to me and feel the consequences and real remorse of what she's done, which risks her thinking I don't want her anymore and perhaps enables her to search out another man. Tough choices, and honestly, I'm not sure which road to take. Like I said, I guess I've been doing a mixture of both. I feel like she's still not ready to talk and she hasn't had time to figure everything out. Would she be able to do this while still living at home with us? Edit. She's at the house and I said something to her about her being numb. I told her she can't just be numb and expect everything that's going on to change or go away. She said she is confused and doesn't know what to do going forward. I asked for more specifics. She said she doesn't know if she should go and be on her own or if we should try to salvage something out of our marriage. I told her, yay, that's something we need to talk about. That was pretty much the end of the conversation. Last night we talked. I told her I was open to the idea of R and I gave her my terms. I told her I wasn't sure if our marriage could be fixed, but I was at least willing to try. She told me she doesn't know what she wants, that she hasn't had time to figure things out, that she feels it would be unfair to me to try and R if she couldn't put everything she had into it. I agreed. I told her I was perfectly prepared to move on without her, but if we were going to try and R, the sooner we tried the better. So as of now I'm giving her more time to absorb everything she's done. Do you feel like this is the right thing to do? Or should I ask for an immediate decision and just move on? I understand she's got a lot going through her head and she's confused about how she feels for me. In her eyes, if she loved me, how could she have done what she did to me? But I'm done sitting on the fence. Either we put effort into R, or I say F it and move on. Well, the fog seems to have lifted. She's back to loving me and wants to R. She's afraid that I'll never be able to forgive her. She said it kills her knowing how disgusted and ashamed I am of her, and so on. I haven't let her move back in yet. If I'm going to put my heart and soul into R, I'd like to make sure it's the real deal. I don't want to just sweep this under the rug and have it happen again a few years down the road when we hit another rough patch or she has another mental breakdown. I've told her for R to be possible there are some things that need to change. 1. She needs to find a new job. The OM's friends have come into her work. They supposedly don't know about the affair, but they still talk to her about him. They told her he wasn't allowed to come in there anymore. So even if he's not coming in there, she's still reminded of him. 2. We need MC. 3. Sign a post-nup giving me all of our belongings and full custody if she cheats on me again. Not sure this is legal. But regardless of if it isn't, I'll have something drawn up even if it can't be used in court. 4. She must get counseling for herself. 5. Transparency with all passwords, email accounts, still have GPS she doesn't know about. 6. She needs to stop smoking, something she picked up at her bar job. 7. Work on communicating with each other. Be as open and honest as possible. This may be hard to enforce. What do you guys think? Anything else? How can I ensure a proper R? How can I know she's really learned from what she's done and would never do it again? This list will apply to both of us. I'm not claiming any kind of moral high ground, and I know it will take effort on both our parts to get past this. Learn from our mistakes, and create a stronger marriage with one another. But what she did is very fresh. I still have bouts of anger. I'll feel fine. Then out of nowhere the thoughts of what she did will pop into my mind and I'll feel awful. I will admit, it's nice having her back home, and it feels good to see her love for me returning. We'll see what happens. My wife's affair is still very fresh and has no doubt changed the holiday season this year. My family and her family both know about her affair, which came to an end about 2 weeks ago, which makes visiting family a bit awkward for both of us. We're in the early stages of attempting reconciliation. We're still trying to figure things out as a couple. She's extremely disgusted in herself and wants to do whatever it takes to make our marriage work. But on the other hand, she said she's afraid of eventually hurting me again, that I don't deserve a person like her. She said she never thought she was capable of doing what she did. Yet she did it. She feels like she doesn't know who she is anymore, and it scares her about our future going forward. She feels like she has serious problems, that something's wrong with her to be able to cause the man she loved so much pain. Anyhow, I suppose I take her feels as a positive side. She's beginning to fully understand what she's done and real remorse is setting in. Although her feeling like she's completely worthless and doesn't deserve me isn't helping us move forward. Any suggestions on how we can take that next step forward this holiday? I still have bouts of anger, but as time has went on, they have lessened. She admits that if he hadn't left her and went back to his wife, she would still be with him right now. Of course, she realizes how wrong this is after the fact. It weighs on a husband's soul feeling like the second choice of the women he loves, even if she realizes the mistakes she made. Me, can you promise me that you'd never do this again? Her, I feel like I can't make that promise. I never thought I'd ever be capable of doing what I did to you, but I still did it. Now I feel like I don't even know who I am. Right now, I feel like I would never that again, but I honestly don't know. I feel like I'd be lying to you if I promised you that and told you I wouldn't. I didn't really have much of a response to what she said. I appreciate her honesty and I can understand where she's coming from. How can you promise not to do something when you never thought it possible for you to do it in the first place? It is extremely uncomfortable for the both of us, but for different reasons. I do feel like a fool, humiliated, where she feels ashamed, embarrassed, but we'll get past it. I understand perfectly what your husband's going through. The constant roller coaster of anger and sadness. It's hell. I feel like if the wayward spouse could just feel a small slice of that pain, they would never consider in 1,000 years doing what they did again. Being the BS, it's a hard road. You love the person more than life itself, but it's hard to look at them the same way, especially when you look at them and think of the affair and the pain they caused you. I'm worried about the triggers too. I don't want to have to be reminded of her affair every holiday season. That would be horrible. A month later, the shocking update. My wife and I have been working on it's been rough and we both decided we should spend some time apart to figure things out. Well, today, I just received a letter saying that I have an arrest warrant. Not only was I thinking what the hell, how'd this happen? It made me trigger badly about the whole affair and how evil my wife had turned. D-Day 2, I'm guessing this warrant was a result of my wife filing a police report about the night she saw the OM and broke no contact. I asked her to leave the house. In the beginning I was enraged when she got home. I gave her a chance to be honest. She lied. I went crazy and yelled at her. But eventually I cooled down. I told her I loved her and wished her the best of luck with him. Well, the next day, her and him got a hotel. I drive up there to confront them. She won't come out and has slept with him that night. I drove home crying. My wife had just chosen another man over me. Worst day of my life. Day after that, OM left my wife, ran back to his wife who I had told all about the affair. So, my wife felt used by the OM and I'm sure was heartbroken. She had just thrown away everything for this man and finally had slept with him. The very next day he dumps her like garbage. Karma. So, at this time she was temporarily insane. And the day after that, she files a police report about the night I kicked her out, stating that I was verbally ex her and grabbed her by her hair. A lie. A policeman escorted her to our house to collect some of her belongings. I talked to her while she was home, with the cop staring me down. I told her she's just making everything so much worse. She asked the cop to leave and we talked. I guess I kind of forgot about the police report. I didn't think it was a big deal. But apparently it was. I thought they'd at least give me a court date. But instead, I just get this random letter saying I have an arrest warrant. She regrets this deeply. She was a wreck at the time. Could she drop the charges? Just more crap I have to go through. I'd like to hire an attorney as a last option. After doing research, I realize she can't drop it. Only the DA can. But I'm going to have her contact the DA and tell him she has no intention of cooperating in my prosecution. Feel like this is just another slap in the face and just adding to the difficulty we're having with our 4 years later. So, I'm back 4 years later, and I'd like to say that regardless of how dire the circumstances, there is always a chance. My wife fell out of love with me, had an affair. The details are still painful to this day. See my old posts. No one thought we had a chance. But after her insanity, I stuck it out, mostly for our kids, and we've made great progress since. I won't lie, the pain is still there, but we're still relatively happy. Things have calmed down quite a bit since our hysterical bonding. Sometimes I still feel like a backup choice, but I've come to a realization that we're all humans and human nature. Monogamy is a B if anyone needs help. I'm here to offer any kind of advice I can. I went through hell. My wife tossed me out like garbage for another man. But after a lot of trial and error, I was able to save our marriage and our family. There is always hope. Like comment, the OM got sick of her and dumped her. So she got back together with OP. What do you think about this ending? What a timeline. Maybe OP just loves his wife more than anything.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick! What's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread. hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.